Hi everybody, my name is Elizabeth and I'm a librarian here at the LSC Tomball Community Library. Welcome back to Screenshots, which is the series where I recommend to you great movies that you can watch for free with your library card. It is June, which means that it is LGBTQ Pride Month. The LGBTQ community has existed forever, but they haven't always been in films. And when they haven't always been portrayed well. It's hard to imagine considering the current rating system that we use for films here in the US, but at the beginning of the film industry, there was no kind of content standard in place for movies, and pretty much anything could be made and be seen by anyone. In fact, if you watch some of these really early films from the 1920s and 1930s, they could get pretty scandalous. This wouldn't last forever though. In 1934, Hollywood started operating under what would come to be known as the Hays Code, which set restrictions on the kinds of things that could and couldn't be in films, with a huge emphasis on couldn't. The Hays Code's bans were huge and very far-ranging, placing restrictions on all kinds of things, from swearing to nudity to on-screen drug use and even childbirth. Probably the most well-remembered ban from the Hays Code would be that banning sexual perversion, which covered all kinds of things, but also severely restricted the portrayal of LGBTQ people in film. In particular, if they had to be included, which they very rarely were, they had to either meet a tragic end or receive some kind of on-screen punishment for their behavior. This would last until 1964, when the Hays Code would be abandoned in favor of adopting the Motion Picture Association of America's rating system, which we still use today. Since then, portrayal of LGBTQ people in film has improved hugely, both in quantity and quality. So it is my absolute pleasure today to tell you about 4 of my very favorite LGBTQ films that you can watch for free with your library card. So, let's get started. Even though the Hays Code is long gone, a lot of LGBTQ films are still pretty sad, but they don't have to be. In fact, there is a robust tradition of LGBTQ comedy films, and one of my absolute favorites has to be Julie Babbitt's 1999 film, But I'm a Cheerleader. The concept of this film isn't super funny, but I am begging you to bear with me here. Megan is a classic girly girl at her all-American high school, but her parents are convinced that she's gay. In order to fix what they see as a problem, they send her to a summer camp where gay teenagers are taught how to be straight. But there is a flaw to this plan, which is that this camp is full of gay teenagers, so romance is sure to blossom, including for Megan, who is gay, despite the fact that she's a cheerleader. Conversion therapy is no laughing matter, but a lot of the comedy from this film comes from the inherent ridiculousness of that idea. And you can see that too in the design of the sets and the cinematography of the film, which are inspired by the colorful, campy films of gay icon John Waters, who made classics like Hairspray, Pink Flamingos, and Cry Baby. Like Waters' films, But I'm a Cheerleader is a hilarious satire of the ways that society tries to fit people into neat little boxes, but also finds a surprising amount of joy in the ways that people are able to carve out a space for themselves in a society that is set up to work against them. Like I said, there is nothing funny about conversion therapy, but there are plenty of laughs to be found in But I'm a Cheerleader. You can check it out on DVD from the Harris County Public Library. If But I'm a Cheerleader is your introduction to LGBTQ cinema, then you might be thinking that these films are all going to be super colorful. And to a certain degree, you might be right. This is also the case with the next film I wanted to talk about today, Julie Taymor's wonderfully colorful 2002 film, Frida. Frida is a heavily dramatized, surreal biopic about the revolutionary Mexican painter Frida Kahlo, beginning when she's involved in a bus accident in 1922 when she was 18 years old, resulting in her being impaled on a metal rod. Her recovery process is long and ultimately incomplete, but during her time spent in the hospital, she began to paint, beginning her career as one of the 20th century's most iconic painters. Kahlo's work was enigmatic and surreal, and the film features several tableaus where actors from the film actually recreate these paintings. And even outside of these tableaus, the film is hugely colorful and absolutely gorgeous, emulating the color palette that Kahlo used in her work. In addition to being a painter, Kahlo also lived an absolutely fascinating life, including a lifelong, tumultuous relationship with fellow painter Diego Rivera. This involved significant infidelity on both of their parts, with Rivera taking on numerous female lovers, while Kahlo took on numerous male and female lovers. Unlike But I'm a Cheerleader, Kahlo's bisexuality is not a huge focus in this film, but it does provide nuance into the fascinating life of an incredibly complex woman. Additionally, the film never judges Kahlo for her behavior, instead allowing us to see the world through her eyes rather than through the eyes of a public that didn't always understand or accept her. Julie Taymor is a director with a very unique style, which you would know if you've seen her Beatles jukebox musical film Across the Universe back in 2007, like I did. But if you like films with a really interesting visual style, biopics, casual depictions of LGBTQ characters, and the real stories of actual LGBTQ people, you are going to love Frida. You can check it out on DVD from the Harris County Public Library. If you've watched any of my other videos in this series, or if you've read any of my blogs on the HCPL website, then you know that Hong Kong filmmaker Wong Kar-wai is one of my absolute favorite directors. I can typically find a way to bring him up in any conversation, regardless of the theme, but for this one it's actually pretty easy because of his 1997 film Happy Together. Unlike our last two films, you are going to want to have your tissues ready for this one, so just a heads up. Happy Together follows a gay couple from Hong Kong who decide to visit Buenos Aires, specifically the Iguazu Falls, which decorate a lamp that they keep in their apartment. Upon arriving in Argentina, though, they get into a fight and break up, only to realize that they don't have enough money to get back to Hong Kong, leaving them stranded in Argentina and forcing them to figure out a way to survive. The film follows their relationship as it dissolves, comes back together again, and then dissolves again, including an unexpected love triangle with another Chinese-speaking expat from Taiwan who works at the same restaurant as one of the characters. This film can be pretty tough to watch, both because it is heartbreaking, but also because it pretty frankly depicts some of the difficult choices that LGBTQ people have to make when considering their safety and their survival. But at the end of the day, this is still a Wong Kar-wai movie, so everything is shot in this gorgeous, dreamy style, and the film is full of fantastic music, including Happy Together, the song by the 1960s rock band The Turtles, which the film takes its name from. Although it's over 20 years old at this point, Happy Together was a massively influential piece of LGBTQ cinema, and would go on to influence some really amazing films, including the 2017 critical darling Barry Jenkins' Moonlight. This film is beautiful and tender and heart-wrenching, and proof that Wong Kar-wai is the king of romance, no matter who is involved. You can check out Happy Together on DVD and Blu-ray from the Harris County Public Library. While Frida is based on a real-life historical figure, it is still fictionalized, which is why I wanted to end today's video with a documentary about one of the most influential and most misunderstood periods in LGBTQ history, the New York City ballroom scene. If you're only going to watch one film off this list, it should be this one. Jenny Livingston's 1990 documentary masterpiece, Paris is Burning. Set during the height of the AIDS epidemic in New York City at the end of the 1980s, Paris is Burning centers on the ballroom community, a primarily Black and Latinx dance scene that you might recognize if you've seen Ryan Murphy's TV series Pose, and would also go on to influence future aspects of LGBTQ culture like RuPaul's Drag Race. The documentary follows a few specific members of that community, and unfortunately, not all of them live to see the end of the film. This is one reason why Paris is Burning is so valuable. It's an incredible artifact of a group in a time and place where people didn't often live long lives, and their legacies were either not preserved or actively suppressed. I know I'm making this film sound like a massive downer, but the reason why it's so sad is that the documentary shows you the incredible community that they've built here, only to also show you how massively fragile it is. Pride can be a really exciting time of year, but it's also a great opportunity to educate yourself, and Paris is Burning is a great place to start. You can check it out on DVD from the Harris County Public Library. Thank you for watching this episode of Screenshots. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter so that you never miss a future episode of Screenshots or any of our other great online programs. Thank you again for watching, and I wish you all a very happy Pride. Bye!